The rain in New York does not fall, it crashes. And it crashed right into Susie Carter's glasses. Her phone vibrated again. She stared at the screen. For a second she imagined picking up and hearing the same sentence she had heard for 3 months straight. She hit decline, hard enough that her thumb hurt. The glass doors of the marriage bureau slid open with a soft hiss. A man stumbled out, dragging his tie loose with one hand, his suit jacket over his arm. His steps were quick, angry, like he was running from something. Susie was still rehearsing her imaginary fight with her mother when she turned to leave, head down, and slammed straight into him. Sorry. Susie squatted down, grabbing at the papers with both hands. The rain soaked through the thin sheets at once. I did not see you, I am so sorry. It is fine. His voice was low and calm, with a tired edge that made her look up. He looked like every girl's dream and every mother's target list. Marriage certificate. He followed her gaze and exhaled. A humorless laugh caught in his throat. She did not know why the words came out. Maybe it was the rain, maybe it was the way his eyes looked a little too empty, like he had been fighting alone for a long time. He paused. No, I did not even get married. The stupidest idea she ever had in her life leaped onto her tongue. He stared at her. Rain slid down the bridge of his nose, clinging to his lashes. He raised a brow. You are proposing a contract marriage to a stranger in the rain. For a second his lips twitched, like he wanted to smile, and was not sure if he remembered how. Marry before 30, or I will rewrite the will. What is your name? He asked. That almost smile appeared again. Leon Walker. He said. 25, I run a company. Big enough. She stuck out her hand. So, Leon Walker, do you want to marry me? Leon looked at the girl in front of him. Short messy hair, big glasses, hoodie with a cartoon cat on it, sneakers covered in flour. Her eyes were round, stubborn, burning in the rain. But she also looked like freedom. She was not used to this. Yes. Susie and Leon answered in unison. Congratulations, she said. Next. But the moment she opened it and saw their names side by side, something in her chest calmed. A strange warmth rose up, wrapping around her like a dry blanket. Leon glanced at the booklet, then at the girl who had just become his legal wife. She was biting her lip, eyes shining behind the wet lenses. A flight? Susie blinked. Already? 3 years. She repeated slowly, fingers closing around the card. We live our own lives. We do not interfere. Then we divorce. He turned, walked out into the rain, and disappeared into a waiting car. Mrs. Walker. She whispered to herself, then snorted. Relax, Susie. It is just a name on paper. 5 years later, bright afternoon light poured through the floor-to-ceiling windows of Sweet Cat Cafe, turning the tiny bakery into a warm, golden box. The scent of butter and sugar floated in the air, mixed with the faint smell of coffee and vanilla. 5 years had changed many things. Her mom still nagged about marriage, but now the nagging came through voice messages she could mute. Lily Jones, her best friend and business partner, leaned on the counter with a grin. Her brown ponytail swayed as she jerked her chin toward the window. Table 3. The guy in the white shirt and tie. He has been staring at the tiramisu for 10 minutes. A man in a crisp white shirt sat alone by the window, jacket folded neatly over the back of his chair. Dark hair, shorter on the sides now, neatly styled. Sharp profile, straight nose, long fingers tapping lightly on the table. New customer. Susie said, turning back to rearrange the cookies. Do not start with your gossip. So. Susie rolled her eyes, but her lips twitched. The doorbell chimed as the man approached the counter. Up close, he was even more put together. No rain, no loosened tie, no messy hair. Just sharp lines and calm eyes that held a kind of quiet distance. Susie wiped her hands on her apron. 1 bedroom, 1 living room, small kitchen, decent light. No elevator. Rent is not cheap. No late payments, no drama. And rules. She continued, ticking them off on her fingers. No smoking, no loud parties, no strange people showing up at 3 in the morning. I start baking at 5, so the mixer can be a bit loud. If you are a grumpy light sleeper, look somewhere else. The man studied Susie, eyes lingering for half a second on the flower on her cheek, the curls pinned up on her head, the cat-shaped name tag on her apron. Susie raised a brow. So you are the grumpy light sleeper. The name hit her like a dropped mixing bowl. Walker. Almost 0. She forced a smile. I am Susie. We can go upstairs to see the place. Rent is listed on the flyer. It is not negotiable. As she led him up the narrow back staircase, she stole quick glances over her shoulder. His profile was different from the hazy memory in her head. More mature, sharper, with a quiet weight to it. 5 years could do that to anyone. It is good, he said finally. Yes. He pulled out his phone. I can transfer the deposit now. One more thing. He looked straight at her. I work from home often. I do not cook much. Is it possible to order from the cafe and have it sent upstairs? I want your tiramisu, he said simply. And coffee. And whatever you recommend. I will pay. Downstairs, Lily watched them come down together and hissed under her breath. The cat flicked its tail and continued sleeping. He skimmed the pages faster than any lawyer she had ever seen. Looks standard. He signed his name with clean, decisive strokes. The letters swam for a second. Susie pressed her tongue to the roof of her mouth and pretended her heart was not trying to beat its way out of her chest. Welcome to Sweet Cat Cafe, she said brightly, tearing off the signed copy and handing him his keys. House rules are on the fridge. If you break anything, you pay. If you bring home weird people, I will call the police. He picked up his suitcase, nodded politely, and went upstairs. At the end of that chain, hidden where no one could see, was a tiny key shaped like a heart. Keep this safe. I will be back. Susie had thrown the envelope away. Now, 5 years after a ridiculous flash marriage, after no calls and no explanations, the name Leon Walker had walked back into her life, carrying a suitcase, renting the apartment above her cafe. The first morning with a tenant started with an explosion. At 5 in the morning, Susie slipped into the kitchen of Sweet Cat Cafe, tying her apron as she went. The street outside was still dark, the neon lights of the bar across the road blinking sleepily. She turned on the mixer, or one very light sleeping tenant. Then he realized the noise was coming from directly below him. He checked the clock. He closed his eyes, counted to 10, then threw on a t-shirt and sweatpants and headed downstairs. Susie almost dropped the bowl of eggs. He also looked extremely annoyed. I want sleep, he replied. Do you always start baking at 5? The mixer sounds like a plane taking off. He stared at her, and for a second she thought he would argue. Then something in his face relaxed, like he remembered this was not a boardroom, and she was not a hostile investor. She snorted. You survived one morning. You will be fine. Tiramisu base. She answered automatically. You want a cup later? Paying customer. She reminded him. Leon learned that Susie talked to her cat more than to humans. Cookie, you cannot sleep on the warm bread. Customers do not want cat for croissants. Cookie was a round, orange and white ball of fur with a resting grumpy face. He shed like it was a sport. The first time Leon picked him up, his black t-shirt transformed into a new fashion piece called Furry Disaster. Susie snatched the cat back. Do not bully my son. He is fluffy. He is showing affection. Susie rolled her eyes. You know what, Mr. Walker? If you can manage to use the washing machine without turning your shirts into abstract art, then you can judge my cat. The great laundry disaster. So he did what any confident man would do. He shoved everything into the washer, poured in detergent like it was free, pressed the button that looked most promising, and walked away. Leon Walker, what did you do? The sight that greeted him looked like a crime scene against fashion. Why is my dress tie-dyed? Susie shouted. You do not mix dark and light clothes. She cried. That is laundry 101. That is like saying sugar and salt are both white. She snapped. Do you put salt in cheesecake? You know what I mean. For memory, she said when Susie glared at her. Also, this is going on our group chat. I will pay for the dress, he said. He bit back a laugh. I apologize to you and to the art of laundry. Fine, she said. From now on, you are banned from using the machine alone. Bring your clothes down and I will sort them. You do not get to create modern art in my laundry room again. I will prevent you from murdering fabrics. She corrected. There is a difference. She blinked. For a second his face lost that cool mask, and she saw something almost boyish underneath. Technically, it was only a small flame, but fire alarms did not care about technicalities. He filled a pot with water, turned on the gas stove, and went back to his laptop to finish a report. He noticed when the smoke alarm screamed. Cookie sat on the counter, tail puffed up, meowing complaints. Leon gave her a flat look. I tried to cook noodles. You tried to cook noodles, she repeated slowly. And almost burned down my cafe. Your noodles. Despite the smoke, despite the shrieking alarm, Susie burst out laughing. He shrugged. I have people who cook for me. I did not have people who tasted your tiramisu for me. That was a new priority. New rule. She declared. You are banned from touching the stove unless I am here. Yes, she said firmly. You are a danger to carbs everywhere. I will order food from now on, he said. Happy? He hesitated, then added. I am sorry. It is fine, she said, letting her voice soften. Nothing is broken. Nobody is hurt. Cookie is just being dramatic. Leon smiled, a small curve of lips that made his eyes warm for the first time since he moved in. And you are not what I expected from a tenant, she replied. An old man with a loud television and a weird smell, she said honestly. Or a college student who thinks dishes wash themselves. She looked at him, at the man in a plain black t-shirt and gray sweatpants, barefoot in her kitchen at midnight, hair messy, eyes clear. He tilted his head. Disappointed? For a moment, the cafe with its still warm ovens and cooling racks felt like the center of a very small universe. Just them and the faint smell of smoke and sugar. Watch it, Ferbal, he complained. He made coffee better than any machine she owned, so he took over the espresso machine on busy mornings. He would fix the leaky faucet or the flickering light in the hallway without being asked, and she would leave a plate of warm cookies at his door with a sticky note. He had replied by sliding an envelope with actual rent money under her cafe door, along with a scribbled line on the back of the receipt. He did not say much about his work. She only knew he was often on late-night conference calls, sometimes speaking in rapid English to someone in London, sometimes switching to smooth French or crisp German. Her own history had taught her that some doors you did not open unless invited. Like she had heard that voice demand something from fate before. She shook off the thought every time. This Leon was her tenant, who liked tiramisu a little too much. The day everything shifted started with a dress and a dare. Susie eyed the dress with suspicion. It was simple but elegant, with a soft V-neck and a skirt that swished just below the knee. It looked like something out of a summer wedding photo. Because you are a coward, Lily replied cheerfully. This is our first big dessert workshop. Influencers, food bloggers, local reporters. You cannot show up in your flower-stained cat hoodie. Your hoodie scares sponsors. Lily countered. Put on the dress. Trust me. 10 minutes later she stepped out of the small back room, smoothing the skirt with both hands. Her long hair was curled in loose waves, pinned half up with a pearl clip. She had done her makeup herself, light but bright, with a soft red lip that made her eyes pop. Stop it, Susie muttered, but a smile tugged at her mouth. Susie stiffened. Do not, she said quietly. Do not go there today. It is fine. Susie inhaled slowly. Today is about the cafe, not about stupid rainstorms and stupid decisions. Tiramisu workshop with Chef Susie Carter. For a moment, he forgot how to breathe. He had never seen this version. Something tugged hard inside his chest, like a thread pulling free from a knot. Not the comfortable kind of familiar he had grown used to over the months. Something older, deeper, like a scene from a dream he could not fully see, only feel. Do I have flour on my face? She asked, touching her cheek. He trailed off. The word that had popped into his head felt too dangerous to say out loud. She looked right. Good different, or bad different? She pressed. Color rose to her cheeks. We are doing a tiramisu workshop today, she said quickly. There will be people. Lots of them. Please remember you are not allowed to burn anything. Lily rolled a cart past them, then stopped and backed up, eyes narrowing. Susie gave her a warning look. Lily. Nothing. Lily said too brightly. Just that white really suits her, right? Lily's grin returned. Then you better sit in the front row for the workshop, Mr. Landlord-Tenant Man. You can help hand out samples. You live here, she countered. Close enough. The workshop was a success from the moment the first tray of ladyfingers hit the tables. Leon sat at the back at first, watching with his usual quiet concentration. He watched the moment she cupped a glass of finished tiramisu between her palms, raised it to eye level, and smiled. The room laughed. Leon smiled without realizing it. Help, she hissed. We are short 2 pairs of hands, and I cannot clone myself. He moved between tables, placing finished cups in the fridge, bringing out fresh ingredients, occasionally catching Susie's eye across the room. Focus, he scolded himself. An overexcited college student connected her phone to the cafe speakers and turned on a bright, bouncy pop song. The room's mood bumped up another notch. People swayed as they whisked, laughed as they sifted cocoa, and then it happened. Flashing lights, not from a cafe but from a buzzing sign. A girl with short hair and big glasses, holding a pen like it was a weapon, turning to him with wild eyes and saying, 3 years, no drama, then we divorce, deal. Leon? Someone called. Are you okay? Yes, he said, though he was not sure. But there were still gaps. He shook himself and focused on the tray in his hands. Susie wiped the counter, humming under her breath. Leon stacked chairs. Lily collapsed onto a stool, fanning herself with a recipe card. We need more fridge space next time, Susie replied. And you need to stop inviting every blogger in Brooklyn. Surprisingly, he asked. I considered hiding, he admitted. Then Lily threatened to tell your cat I refused to help. Leon watched her as she laughed at her own joke. The sunlight from the window caught on the tiny gold chain around her neck, the one she always wore, but never took off. She touched the pendant instinctively. Old habit, she said. Lucky charm. Sometimes, she said. Like today. Lily cleared her throat loudly. Okay, I am officially third wheeling in my own cafe. I am going to the back to count money. Leon looked at the tray of remaining tiramisu cups, at the one that had her name piped in cocoa on top. You are going to eat again? She teased. You already had two. Then who is it for? Her hand stilled on the cloth. Me. A strange tightness settled in her chest. When you forgot to eat lunch 3 days in a row, he replied. Landlords should be healthy. They raise the rent when they get cranky. Thank you, she said softly. Instead he said, you are welcome, and went upstairs to his temporary kingdom of invoices and video calls. That night, the dream changed. A girl stood in front of him, her hoodie soaked, her glasses fogged. She held out a pen with shaking fingers. He heard his own voice answer. Then say no. She shot back, chin lifting. Go back to your pretty princesses, and let me be crazy alone. Fine. He heard himself say. Let us be crazy together. He woke up with his heart racing and his pillow slightly damp with sweat. Rain from a different night. From his head, a contract, a promise. 3 years, no love, no drama. Did I actually get married? He muttered into the empty room, half joking, half serious. And yet when he pictured the girl in the dream, stubborn and drenched and fierce, her face flickered like a half-finished sketch. He laughed dryly at himself. Still, he found his feet carrying him downstairs to the cafe, bare seconds before closing time. You are just in time, Lily said. We were about to fight over the last tiramisu. Judge Walker, please decide who deserves it more. Leon glanced at the lonely cup on the counter. The cocoa on top spelled out a crooked S. Lily burst into a grin. See, even your tenant loves you more than cake. She scooped a small spoonful, tasted it, and closed her eyes for a second. What are you thinking about? Leon asked, surprising himself with the question. I am thinking, she said lightly. That life would be much quieter without you upstairs. Her heart skipped. She covered it with another spoonful of dessert. Somewhere, in a dusty office and a forgotten file cabinet, there was a piece of paper that agreed with him. It started with Leon's assistant, Mark, who came to the cafe one busy afternoon holding a stack of folders and a face full of barely contained curiosity. Leon did not look up. And Leon's pen paused above the paper. Mark glanced at Susie, who was decorating cupcakes at the counter, her hair tied up, flour on her nose. No, Leon replied. Someone did. One of the workshop bloggers had posted a glowing review of Sweet Cat Cafe online, complete with photos of Susie in her white dress, Leon in the background pouring coffee, and the two of them laughing together. Rich, bored, curious old people did. On a sunny Saturday morning, the bell over the cafe door chimed, and admitted trouble in the form of a short, sharp-eyed old man, with a cane, and a driver hovering behind him. Welcome to Sweet Cat Cafe, Susie called automatically, not looking up from the cake she was frosting. 1 second, I will be right with you. The old man looked around once, then fixed his gaze on Susie. Sir? The driver whispered. We do not know if she is really a... Susie finally turned, spatula in hand, ready to greet the customer with her usual bright smile. The old man had walked right up to the counter, leaned his cane against it, and grabbed her hands with surprising speed for someone with supposed joint pain. Susie blinked. I am sorry, what? Grandfather, he said slowly. Old Mr. Walker turned, his face splitting into a grin. Every sound in the cafe stopped. Susie's mouth worked, but no actual words came out. There was a mistake. His grandfather cut in. The mistake was you not telling me you got married 5 years ago. Do not play dumb, boy. The old man huffed. You disappeared after the infamous marriage escape party. You refuse every good match I bring you. Now you are living above a cafe. Your assistant stammers when I ask about your personal life, and this charming young lady looks exactly like the woman in the blurry security footage from the marriage bureau. Never mind that. Grandfather Walker said hastily. I am here to do what you should have done years ago. My dear, he said, squeezing her fingers. I am Leon's grandfather, Arthur Walker. I apologize on behalf of this idiot for hiding you from the family. But do not worry, I approve. You run a business. You clearly work hard, and you have a cat. Only sensible women have cats. Wait, she managed. I am not a. She swallowed. The word, wife, clanged around in her head like a dropped pan. Grandfather, you are scaring my landlord, he said evenly. She is not my wife, Leon said. The pressure at the back of his skull tightened. Images flickered. Rain. Fluorescent lights. A pen and a promise. Grandfather, Leon warned. Mark, who had been hiding near the door pretending to check inventory, winced. Arthur sighed dramatically. Fine. Let us approach this like rational adults. He turned to Susie. Young lady, how long have you known Leon? Arthur's eyes flared. Lies, he pronounced. Even my bad niece says you two have a history. Sir, she said carefully, stepping in with the bravery of someone who had watched too many dramas. I am Susie's friend, Lily. I was there 5 years ago, when she faltered, glancing at Susie. When she made a very reckless choice. Lily finished. He straightened his suit and slammed his cane lightly on the floor for dramatic effect. Grandfather, Leon said firmly. You are making everyone uncomfortable. Susie pinched the bridge of her nose. There was something about her tone that made even Arthur pause. Do you remember ever meeting me before you rented the apartment? She asked. In the corner of his mind, a girl with glasses laughed in the rain. The honesty stung more than she expected. Arthur frowned. That is not how that footage looked. Arthur waved a hand. The important thing is this, child. Do you want to be with him? What? Arthur spread his hands. I lived through one loveless marriage for the sake of the family. I will not let my grandson do the same. If you two have history, we drag it into the light. If you do not, we start fresh. I am too old for mysteries. What did she want? Now, watching him stand between her and his grandfather's pressure, she wanted I want to run my cafe, she said finally. I want quiet mornings and busy afternoons. I want my life to be my own. That is all. Good answer, he said. But I do not give up so easily. Leon, we are having dinner tonight. You, me, and you're a landlord. Mark will send the car. Yes, Arthur said. You have a life. Susie raised a hand. I have shifts, she protested. I cannot just leave the cafe. Traitor, Susie muttered. Excellent, he said. 7 o'clock. We're something nice. I am not spending my remaining years eating alone with suits. The doorbell chimed shut behind him. Lily whispered. Is it bad that I kind of like him? Leon rubbed a hand over his face. For what? She mumbled into the marble. She lifted her head. It is not your fault you have a dramatic grandfather. Despite everything, she laughed. Susie gave her a look. You are forgetting one detail. He thinks I am his grandson's secret wife. Leon's mouth twitched. You do not have to come, he told Susie. I can handle him. Her logical brain screamed to stay away. Walk away. Do not step into rich family drama. You ran once. Maybe this time you stay and see. Leon met her eyes, and for a moment there was something like relief there. Crystal chandeliers. White tablecloths. Waiters who glided instead of walked. Eat, Arthur insisted, pushing a basket of warm rolls toward her. You look like you work too hard. You run a business, Arthur said approvingly. Good. My grandson once tried to date a woman who thought work was a brand of handbag. Arthur ignored him. So, Susie, he continued, tell me how you met this foolish boy. In Brooklyn, she said. He came to rent the apartment above my cafe. Leon's head throbbed. Arthur slammed his cane lightly against the floor. No, I will not. I saw you, you know, he said. On a security tape, drenched in rain, eyes blazing, dragging my grandson into the marriage bureau like he was your last lifeboat. Lily had never told her about any tape. She had thought that night belonged to her, Leon, and the board clerk. He smiled, a little sadly. Susie stared at her plate. Leon was very still beside her. She did not look at him. She looked at her own hands, at the faint flour that always seemed to cling to her skin no matter how much she washed. The table went silent. Memory surged up like a wave, his own voice answering. Fine, let us be crazy together. Call me if anything serious happens. Hospital ceilings. Doctors saying. There is some memory damage. His throat felt dry. I do not remember. I figured that out when you walked into my cafe and asked about rent. She said. You looked at me like I was just some stranger who made good cake. I am sorry. He said, the words sounding inadequate to his own ears. Leon looked at Susie. At the woman who had once stood with him in the rain, and now sat across from him in a white dress that made something in him ache. She finally met his gaze. There were 1,000 things she could have said. Yell at him for leaving. Demand compensation for 5 years of confusion and unanswered questions. Throw the ring she had never actually worn into his face. He exhaled slowly. Arthur nodded, oddly satisfied. Susie almost choked on her soup. Somewhere in the middle of the chaos, her heart whispered something traitorous. The days after the dinner felt like walking across a bridge that might still be under construction. He failed. Not to Susie. Old people know how to attack from the side. Lily muttered, reading the card. He says, and I quote, Dear Miss Lily, please assist 2 stupid children in finding their way back to each other. You have my blessing and the Walker family's unlimited dessert budget. Dessert budget? Lily repeated, eyes glittering. Do you know what we can do with that? New ovens. New fridges. A second location. We could put your face on billboards. Who said anything about selling? Lily replied. We are just giving it a little nudge. Susie's heart dropped into her shoes. The thing you made me swear never to touch unless you were ready. Lily said. Well, I think you are ready. Susie wiped her suddenly sweaty palms on her apron. Lily squeezed her shoulder. You are stronger than you were 5 years ago, she said. Back then you ran to marriage to escape. Now you stay because this is your home. You can handle a piece of paper. Fine. She whispered. Ring Leon. Leon came down from the apartment a few minutes later, still wearing reading glasses from poring over documents. The sight of Susie pale and tense at the counter made his chest tighten. Sit, she said. Lily placed the cake box on the table between them, like a referee placing the ball before a match. She vanished, leaving them alone with the box. Is that a food? He asked cautiously. He lifted the lid. Marriage certificate. He picked it up with careful fingers, as if it might crumble. The photo hit him like a punch. She was smiling in a way that made her look nervous and brave at the same time. His eyes slid down to the names printed beneath the photo. The date. 5 years ago. The location. New York City Marriage Bureau. Memories surged, clearer than ever. The sound of rain on the bureau steps as they stepped out, clutching the booklets. His own voice, light, joking. You saved me from inheriting my grandfather's list of approved brides. We are even. We are not strangers. He had replied. We are married. The headlights. The darkness. I remember. He whispered. You do? She asked softly. I remember the rain. He said. The way you almost poked the clerk in the eye with the pen. The way you said you would never fall in love with me, and I said that was a relief, because I did not have time for drama. He looked up at her then, and there was something in his eyes that made her breath hitch. Silence stretched between them, full of old hurt and new hope. His jaw clenched. I am sorry. He said, the words heavier this time. I did not choose to vanish. I had a car accident. I woke up months later with holes in my memory, and a doctor telling me not to stress. He flinched like she had slapped him. She blinked. Your grandfather had footage. He exhaled sharply. She laughed weakly. And now you know why it felt right. Yes. He said. Now I know. So what now? She asked. Are you going to demand an annulment? The answer was on the tip of her tongue. It was what she had told herself for 5 years. That when he came back, if he ever came back, she would shove the certificate in his face and march to the courthouse to end it. He closed the booklet quietly. She forced a smile. We failed spectacularly on the drama part. Maybe. He said slowly. This time we make a different kind of promise. He took a breath, choosing his words carefully. Her heart skipped. She looked at the tiramisu display. Cake is expensive, she muttered. The last word hung in the air like a fragile thing. Then we sign the papers, he said, his jaw tightening slightly. Properly this time. No rain, no panic. Just 2 adults making a choice. His gaze dropped to her hands, then rose slowly to her eyes. Her cheeks flushed. What would we call each other instead? Wife. He said. Husband. The simplicity of it terrified her more than any storm ever had. Did you show him? Arthur demanded. Did he remember? Lily asked. And they chorused. We are a-talking, she said at last. Grandfather. Leon groaned. Susie stared at the certificate in Leon's hand. And if I stay married? Leon added quietly, surprising them both. I want someone who is not afraid to tell me when I am wrong. Someone who sees Leon, not just Walker Global. Someone who will argue with my grandfather, feed me terrible soup when I am sick, and steal my blankets. He smiled at her, something warm and unguarded. Good, he said. Terms on the table. Now you two take your time. You have already wasted 5 years. Do not waste the rest. On it. Lily said, pulling out a notebook. Talking. Arthur interrupted. Yes, yes. You are talking. I am hearing wedding bells in advance. My ears are very good. The cafe returned to its usual rhythm, but nothing felt quite the same. Customers noticed it and asked questions. It is our limited edition loyalty card, she said. Buy 10 cakes, accidentally marry your landlord for 5 years. Do not put that on the menu, he begged. He had no idea whether to be terrified or thrilled. The decision did not come in a single dramatic moment. In the mornings when Leon took over the espresso machine without being asked, freeing Susie's hands for dough and decoration. In the way Leon started leaving his suit jacket on the cafe chair, instead of hanging it in the upstairs closet, his tie draped over the back like it belonged there. One rainy afternoon, almost exactly 5 years from the night they had first met, they stood side by side at the front window, watching droplets race down the glass. Leon nodded. I remember. The marriage? He asked. He thought about it. He turned to her fully. Her eyes stung. He smiled. What about you? I regret not believing I deserved more than a paper escape, she said. I regret hiding that certificate like it was something dirty instead of a choice I made. I regret not calling you when things were hard. Even if you did not remember, at least your voice might have helped. So, he said gently. What do you want to do now, Mrs. Carter Walker? She looked down at their joined hands. He swallowed, his own eyes suddenly hot. She squeezed his fingers. He laughed, a sound that shook free something heavy in his chest. She blinked. We are already married. Her heart thudded against her ribs in a rhythm that felt suspiciously like yes. This time, he said. I will disappear with you. Honeymoon is non-negotiable. Fine. She sniffed. But we are putting the cake budget under my control. Cookie meowed from the counter as if adding his own opinion. Did someone say wedding? She shouted. Since the word regret, Lily confessed. I cried quietly behind the flower bags. Arthur Walker arrived 10 minutes later without being called, as if he had a radar for emotional breakthroughs. Leon rubbed his arm. Grandfather, you do not have any other heirs. Soon, Susie said, surprising even herself with the certainty in her voice. But it will be small. Family and close friends only. I do not want a ballroom full of people who cannot remember my name. He looked at her for a long moment, then gently patted her hand. For one thing, everyone was dry. Susie wore a dress that was somewhere between her workshop dress and every princess gown she had once secretly admired. Simple, soft, with a skirt that moved like whipped cream around her legs. Lily stood beside Susie, a fistful of tissue in one hand and the bouquet in the other. Arthur sat in the front row with Cookie on his lap, the cat wearing a tiny bow tie and expression of deep martyrdom. Susie took a breath. Her hands shook, but not from fear. A murmur of laughter rippled through the small crowd. Arthur coughed loudly. Cookie sneezed. Leon's shoulders shook with silent laughter. The officiant nodded to Leon. 5 years ago, he said. I married you because I was angry and stubborn. I wanted to escape a banquet full of strangers who wanted my last name, but not my life. I thought a contract with a stranger was safer than any kind of real love. Today, he continued, softer. I am staying married to you because you are the most real thing in my life. You turned a quiet hiding place into a home. You turned burned noodles into a story we tell our friends. You turned my nightmares into dreams where I wake up and smell coffee and sugar instead of hospital disinfectant. I promise, he said, to keep learning how to cook without burning your cafe down, to let you win some arguments even when I am right, to hold your hand in the rain and under these lights and in every boring grocery store all in between. I promise to remember, he said simply. Not just the past you showed me in that red book, but the present we build every day. And if my memory ever fails again, I promise to listen when you remind me who I am and who we are. By the power vested in me by the state of New York, the officiant said, smiling. I now pronounce you husband and wife. Again. Grandfather, it was always official. Leon whispered back. Leon did. It was perfect anyway. Life after the wedding did not turn into a montage of sunsets and jazz music. There were days when the cafe oven broke, when the coffee beans shipment was delayed, when the board threatened to revolt over Leon's ridiculous community investments. There were also quiet nights on the rooftop with blankets and takeout containers. Lazy Sundays when they stayed in pajamas until noon, watching Cookie chase dust motes in the light. Busy holidays when the cafe overflowed, and Leon rolled up his sleeves and washed dishes until his fingers wrinkled. Lily and her husband took embarrassing photos and labeled them with captions like, "Our Landlord Couple, Season 2. Partners Susie Carter Walker Leon Walker. Why is there a cat on the logo? Is it true you two had some kind of crazy flash marriage?" Leon would add. "And she still will not let me touch the washing machine alone." One evening, as the sun set over Brooklyn and painted the sky in shades of pink and gold, Susie stood at the cafe window again, watching the city move. "Penny for your thoughts," he murmured. "I was just thinking," she said. "If my mom could see me now, she would stop nagging me about getting married and start nagging me about giving her grandkids." "True," she said. "Maybe we can distract them with more cake." "And what do you want?" he asked. "I want," she said slowly, "exactly this. For as long as we can have it. The rain, the sunlight, the fights, the sweetness. You, me, a cat. Maybe one day a small human who steals our dessert." "Deal," he said. Susie watched them, remembering a night when she had been the girl in the rain, out of breath and out of patience, ready to make the worst and best decision of her life. Sometimes the craziest choices, the ones you make in the middle of a storm, turn into the sweetest stories. "Ready to close up, Mrs. Walker?" Leon asked. "Ready, Mr. Walker," she answered. Sweet Cat Cafe. And this time, they were not just surviving the storm.
Thanks for watching. Follow for more romance stories.